Hey guys, welcome to this Ultimate Go course. My name is Napkan Cedric and I'm going to be an instructor. In this course, you're going to learn all the basics and all the fundamentals that you need to know to get started and to be a professional Golang developer. From the very basic data types that probably if you are already a developer, you have already known of, like strings, integers, to more advanced data types like maps, slice, and even more advanced concepts too in Go, like pointers, channels, and Go routine. And don't bother if you're new into Go and you have no idea what I'm talking about. We're going to look at this in depth into this course. So let's get into it. Now, Go, also known as Golang, is a statically typed compiled high-level programming language designed at Google by Robert Grisman, Rob Pike, and Ken Thompson. And Go had its first stable release in 2011. So these were the three engineers that pioneered the development of this programming language. And I just want to call out some of the features that Go has that makes it different from other programming language. Now, when it says that Go is statically typed, now that means that the variable types are checked at compile time rather than at runtime. Now, when a variable is being declared in Go, its type is explicitly defined and cannot be changed later in the program or in the future. So this means that when you define a type when you're coding, you cannot change that type in the future or at runtime. And another key feature about Go is it is compiled. Now, what does that mean? What does it mean to be compiled? Now, compiling means that the code is compiled directly into ones and zero, or in other words, called machine code. That is one of the key features that makes Go really fast. And another key feature about Go is that it has inbuilt testing support already baked into the programming language. So you don't need to install any other third-party tool to carry out unit testing or integration testing. It already comes with its own inbuilt package in running your testing. Now, Go is a general purpose language, now which means that it can be used to build REST APIs and backend services. Now, the last thing that I just wanted to call out is Go is object-oriented in nature, but in its own way. So it is not exactly the same as different programming languages that we have out there as Python, Java, that OOP in nature. So it has the feature of OOP baked into it, but it is a little bit different. So we'll talk more about types like structs, slices, mapped, which we're going to see in more detail. Installing Go is pretty simple. You just have to go to your browser, any browser that you're using is fine, and type Golang. Now, when you type this and click on the first link, now this will open the Golang official documentation. Now, when installing this, I would really recommend that you use the various steps that I'm using because I really want to demonstrate all the various installation processes for every operating system that you're using. Now, just click on that, getting started. Now, click on view the installation documentation. Now this page will show you all the installation guide for installing Golang on Mac. For example, if you're on a Mac machine like I am, you're going to see the installation guide for Mac. If you're on Linux, you're going to see all the various installation process for Linux. And if you're on Windows, you're going to see all the installation process you need to take for Windows, starting from the top and going down. And so you guys can just take a sec and try to install this, and we'll meet back after this has been installed. Alright, after downloading Go from the official website, let us just confirm that it was installed properly. So you just need to open your command line if you're on Windows, and you open your terminal on Mac. So let me zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so you just need to type Go version, and this command should give you the output of the current Go version that you just downloaded and installed. And if you are at this level, then you're good to go. So we're going to move over and write in our first Golang program. Alright now guys, in this session you're going to write your first Golang program. We're just going to make it very super simple and super straightforward. And don't worry if there's anything that you don't understand, I'm going to explain everything from the start to the finish. So I have my VS Code opened up. So you just have to open. So let me come here, let me create it on the root of my project. So I'll create a file, just create a file called main.go. Now, in writing your first Golang program, just follow along. I'm going to explain and we're going to look into this in depth. So first, you need to first specify the package where you want this to be. So this is our main package, and for every Golang program that I write, it always has what we call an entry point to your Golang application. Just like if you're familiar with C, you always have the main function that you always enter with. So in Golang, it is basically the same thing. So I have my function, and it has a name called main, and this function it doesn't return anything. This function doesn't return anything, and in here I just want to print out something on the screen, something really simple. So fmt the print, I want to print line. So just let me import this first, fmt dot print line, and in here I just want to print hello go first. All right, so now what have I written? Now in here, what I've written on inside this file, the first line here specify the package. In other words, it means that it tells Golang where this particular file is. And on line 3 here, we have imported a package which is called fmt. So this is a package that is inbuilt with Go. It comes with Golang, and you can use this package to print out something on your screen or your terminal. So we're importing that package. And in here, just like I'd explained, this is your entry point. So this is your entry point into the application. So this is the entry point into the application, and in here we're just printing out hello go first on our monitor. So to run our program, you need to open your terminal. So here, so this time we have a single file, so just do go run, then the name of the file. So this will actually run that program and it will give you the output. So that is how you can run your Go program. In the next series, we're going to look into data types in Go. Guys, looking at data types in Golang, we have basically two kinds of data type. We have primitive data types and we have advanced data type. So under primitive data type, we have types like string, integers, float, and boolean. So we're going to see this in the coming lines below. And under advanced data types, we have arrays, we have maps, and we have struct. I have an example here. I've defined three variables, name1, name2, and name3. And before I move further, I just want to explain that if you're new to programming, a variable, you can look at it as a bucket or a box where you can actually put something inside, and you can decide to change that value that is inside that bucket. So that is why you see we have go, which is assigned to this value called name1. So this is a variable. And now the difference between name1 and name2 from name3 is that both of these has been defined and initialized. So in a more programmatically way, they call it variable initialization. So I just wanted to point that out. Now with the variable, with name3 variable here, that's only be declared. Now down here we have a fmt, the print lines. So like I explained from the previous introduction of this video, that the fmt, it is a package. It's an actual package that comes with Golang, and it is responsible for printing out information on your monitor or on your terminal. So without much further ado, let's run this and see the output, what it will give us. So here I have my terminal, my VS Code. So again, the command to run your file is go run, then the name of the file. So mine is types.go. As you can see, I've named it up here, types.go. So I'll just run that, and for me, I'm going to see the output of what I have. So here I have go file, I have developer, and in the third place I have nothing. And that is expected because this value name3 has only been declared. It hasn't been initialized to an actual value. So I hope that makes sense. All right, so let me close this up. Okay, now coming down here, let me comment this out first. Let me comment this one out. Okay, now coming down here, okay, let me comment this, and let me uncomment this too. All right, So like I explained earlier, you can actually decide to change the value that that you have inputted in that variable. And this is a very good example. Initially here, our name 1 was initialized to go far, but down here we're changing it at runtime. And name 3 here now has been initialized to do. So if we're printing this on the screen, we are expected to see, they should make the guess. So we're expected to see John Doe, and probably we're going to see, let's see the output of this. So again, the command go run, then the name of the file, types.go. Okay, just give it a minute. And okay, so we have John developer do. And why we're having developer here, because the value of name2 here is a developer. That's why we're printing this out. So let me comment this out. Okay, now let's move further down. Golang has this idea of shortening the way you define your variables. So rather than defining your variables like this, let me just comment this out too. Okay, let me comment this out. Okay, and let me comment this out too. We don't longer need those. Now, rather than defining your variables like var, the name of the variable, the type, and you have an initialization operator equals to the value, you could use a more shorter way by just giving the name and equals to, that's colon, equals to then the value that you want to put inside. And if we print this, we're going to see the output of this. So no need for me to do that. All right, let's move forward. Now, under int variables, we have three variables that have been defined here. You have h1, which is 20, h2, and h3. And I also want to point out some few things here. Now, in Golang and other programming language, they have this feature called type inference. Now, what is type inference? Type inference is the ability for your programming language to directly infer the type. It means for it to directly know what type you're assigning it to this value. Sorry, what type you're assigning it to this variable name here. So for example, the first variable name here, we have var h1, which is an int. We're explicitly saying that this is going to be an int equals to 20. So automatically, the compiler, when compiling this code, it knows that this type is of type 20. So it means that here I cannot put a string here, or it's going to flag that. So it's saying that I cannot use a string on type string, so technically it's saying here that I cannot use a string and assign it to a variable that's expecting an integer. That's what it's saying. So I just need to put that back to 20. And on line 36 here on h2, now you see now that you are not explicitly defining the type here, we're just saying equals to 30. Now Go is going to infer the type of h2, so it's going to know that this is an integer, and we already explained this one. So this is a short form of defining your variable in Golang. And mind you, the way this syntax, or this way of defining your variable only works inside a function, so you should take note. You can only use this way to define your variables when you want to define very short variables inside your function. And again, if you don't know what are functions, we're going to look into those. So let us run this and see what it gives us. So to run this, I'm on a Mac machine, so you can use your command key J to open it. If you are on Linux, the command is Control J. So go run, and I think it's the same thing too on a Windows machine. Control J to run this. Go run types.go. Beautiful. So I have my expected value 30, 20, 30, and 40. So those are the expected results. Now moving now to the last part, last data type, which we're going to be talking on under primitive data type, are floats. Now, floats are decimal notations, which means that they are point values. So if you want to store something, like you want to name your variable, let's say score1, that will definitely have a value of 25.98. You can use a float for that. And another thing that I also wanted to point out when it comes in data types in Go is that Go has this concept of defining the size of the value that you want to store inside a variable. So you can see here we have float 32, which means that we can have only a bit size of 8. So this is technically 8 byte that can be stored in here, and 16 byte that can be stored inside a 64 float bit size. All right, let's just run this and see the output of it. So we're expecting this one to be printed out, and we're expecting this one to be printed out too. So let's go. So Again, I just press my upward key to go to my previous command and I run this again. And these are all the values that have been printed out. Just to make it more cleaner, let me comment this first. And let me comment all of these so that I won't have any error. Clear my terminal and I'm upward key again and I run that. So I have all my value printed out. So this is the first value, 25.98, 19 point blah 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 blah, and it gives those value. So that is it about data types, and we're going to look, let me fix this back. Okay, so that is it about primitive data types, and in the next session we're going to look at advanced data types in Go.